they comb the streets looking for potential recruits.
Every cemetery in Ukraine attests to the country's losses.
The army needs to rethink how it conscripts men to fight.
As Russia's war continues into its third year, there is a demand for more troops.
Unpopular mobilization law to replenish troop numbers is working better than expected, according to the military.
Ukraine is short of soldiers. After more than 2 years of brutal warfare, Ukraine's forces are dangerously depleted.
The Ukrainian army desperately needs to enlist more troops.
But will it be possible to continue mobilizing the civilian population? And for how long? Each one of these represents 1 million people. When Ukraine achieved independence in 1991, the population was close to 52 million people. Ukraine even ranked 22nd in the most populous countries on Earth. But this number has dropped steadily over the past 30 years. In 2021, the year before Russia's full-scale invasion began, Ukraine's population was estimated at 41 to 44 million. We have estimations and not exact numbers because the last nationwide census conducted in Ukraine was more than 30 years ago. For this video, we rely on the data from the United Nations, which goes back to 1991 and gives the most comprehensive picture of Ukraine's population. So, let's say that as of 2021, 44 million people lived in Ukraine. And then, we saw the images of women and children fleeing the country. With this huge drain on the population, the UN now estimates the population has dropped from 44 to around 37 million Ukrainians. This represents the population that remains in Ukraine, able to defend it. Except, not quite. Women make up about 57% of society. And although women certainly do contribute to the war effort, with 67,000 women serving in the armed forces, they're not eligible to be conscripted. At this time, new recruits are only pulled from the male population. So, let's take a closer look at the numbers. This is Ukraine. Every mother, father, child, colleague, farmer, barista, plumber, pensioner, everyone. As you can see, up to the age of 45, the male-female ratio is relatively balanced. That equilibrium, though, skews toward the female population after the age of 50. But where we need to pay particular attention is this middle section here, those who are in their 40s and 50s. These middle-aged men compose the largest demographic available to Ukraine's army and make up the majority who are currently fighting against Russia. You may be wondering why Ukraine doesn't just mobilize younger people, those who might be more fit for military service. Well, if we compare this graph to that of the United States, you instantly see where the problem lies. America's male population has been relatively stable over time, and the average age of an American serviceman is a youthful 28 years old. But for Ukraine, we see this deficit of young people in their 20s. This is largely due to, well, everything that happened after the Soviet Union's collapse. It's too much to get into now, but basically, emigration and instability of the immediate post-Soviet era led to lower birth rates, higher emigration, and less 20-somethings today. So, Ukraine does not, in fact, have a vast supply of young, eligible men to recruit into the military. And of the 16 million total men in the country, only 10.3 million are between 18 and 60. Of this, 1.3 million are currently serving, 2.9 million are exempt for one reason or another, and another 600,000 are living under occupation. The remaining 4.9 million are the potential candidates for recruitment. Again, this is just considering men from aged 18 to 60, and we can't forget that the country needs to continue its basic functions in its factories, farms, energy production, and so on. All of this still contributes to the war effort. And removing too many young men from civilian life today will likely later cause a ripple effect in Ukraine's population, similar to what we saw in the 1990s. Just last year, the birth rate fell by 32% compared to 2021, the year prior to the full-scale invasion. In fact, a recent report stated that the death rate in Ukraine is now triple the birth rate. According to the UN, Ukraine's population could even drop as low as 15 million by the end of the century. That's close to 1/3 of its pre-war population. Russia has a similar demographic issue related to the turbulent post-Soviet era, but the starting points were not equal. Russia has almost 4 times the population of Ukraine. But these disparities, while striking, don't change a singular fact. For Ukraine to exist in the future, it will have to defend itself now. On April 16th, the Ukrainian government made the difficult decision to reduce the conscription age from 27 to 25, moving closer to the most fragile part of the population pyramid and putting Ukraine's future demography at further risk. The legislation also created a digital online registry to streamline and modernize mobilization. Military-aged men were given 60 days to update their information with the government. An arrest warrant can be issued for eligible men who fail to register their information. In part, the hope of the new registry would be to bolster Ukraine's forces to the point where soldiers who have been serving since the start of the full-scale invasion could be rotated out of service and replaced with fresh recruits. But this possibility is far in the future, as the numbers of incoming conscripts still cannot make up for Ukraine's military needs, combined with its ongoing casualty rates. Still, some are willing to go to extremes to avoid conscription, and the polling shows that nearly 54% of respondents can sympathize to some degree with those avoiding mobilization. But the majority don't place the blame on Ukrainians for the current mobilization crisis. 96% of Ukrainians made it clear that they'd rather Russia just pack up and leave all Ukrainian territory of their own accord. Everyone knows why they're in this position, and it's not because President Zelensky wants to fight to the last Ukrainian. It's because of Russia.
За Россию! За победу! Ура!
Poll after poll show Ukraine's goals of ending the war on fair terms haven't changed, but it's important to understand just how complex this is for society. We cannot forget that every Ukrainian soldier is a human being with a family and friends, and when that's what's at stake, decisions can never be easy. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. If you're interested in becoming a member of the Kyiv Independent community, visit the link in the description below.